What's up, guys, and welcome back to the joinDOTA League Season 7, where we have the second game between Zero Latitude and Mineski. Mineski with a one-game lead so far, so we'll see if, in typical joinDOTA League fashion, Zero Latitude can make it 1-1. It was a pretty close game for a good portion of it, but it is Mineski to ultimately pull away the victory, now eating a lot of their time. But either way, they should be here soon or something. I'm Mikelorus, going to be joined by GrandisV for this second game. Really hope Jay is actually here. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, nobody was disconnected, just taking their time with that first ban. They were also docked a little bit of the reserve time for showing up a little bit later, some PC issues, but everything's resolved now, so we should be good. But yeah, as far as game one is concerned, Mineski looking really hot in the second half of that game. Really nice defensive play from the Tusk, and maybe even more impressively, the IO. Just consistent saves across the board. So many relocates, so many heals coming out from him, and just the raw amount of kills he was able to get by playing aggressively was pretty impressive. So we'll have to see if that even gets banned out by Zero Latitude. I would not be surprised if we see a second ban stage IO.
Yeah, and it was a surprise IO at that. The IO combos, like as they normally are known as, like the Tinies, the CKs, Bristlebacks, those types of heroes, not even in consideration. Mineski just grabbing the IO for IO's sake. And sometimes it's not going to work out, sometimes it's just not explosive, sometimes the early game gets punished a little bit too much. You can't recover from that, but other times the IO just does exactly his job, exactly what he needs to do, and that was one of those times. I was going to be left in the pool, but really can't blame Zero Latitude for instead deciding to ban out the Leshrac, and Bounty Hunter Shaker is going to get a rather early ban from Mineski. So a lot of still powerful heroes in the pool, and I think if they just grab the Gyrocopter again for Jules, probably the safest thing they could do.
Yeah, or even for Jay, despite him playing the IO and him being the IO player for the team, Mineski do like running him as a farmer as well. So we'll just have to see how things shake up for them. But yeah, Gyrocopter is one of the more safer options. If it's not the Gyrocopter, Lena's another special mention hero, I suppose. She's very versatile, can be played as support, mid, or even safe lane farming, and has such a large kit that does it all, really. AoE damage, large single target burst, AoE stun, and physical right click that scales throughout the game. In general, just an amazing hero.
To hero that was also banned out in the first phase in the last game, so definitely getting through the pool and is going to make a splash here for Zero Latitude. They're going to grab the Gyrocopter and maybe even going to grab a mid lane matchup for this Lena. It is hard to find a matchup where you say, oh yeah, this is definitely much better than the Lena lane. Simply because Lena is so strong. She has that nuke power of the Dragon Slayer to control the lane, push it out even, to help grab her those bounty runes. So maybe Zero Latitude just want to get this Gyrocopter combo going, maybe even, consider rather early Dazzle pickup to try to keep Mineski's Lena kind of at bay, at least defensively so. But yeah, it is a pretty dangerous opening here for Mineski, obviously, towards that mid lane. But we saw how last game, the Zero Latitude side, they did have, in theory, a super dangerous mid lane. It didn't really work out as explosively as we expected, so there is always that possibility that the mid lane falls a little bit flat.
Tusk pick to follow up for Zero Latitude is going to be met with a Techie's ban from Mineski, a hero that's almost constantly banned out when you see the Tusk in the first stage, just because of how annoying that combination is. There are very few ways to actually deal with it. Winter Wyvern is actually one of them, being able to cold embrace whoever's getting snowballed to stop that physical damage from coming through, but still, yeah, probably worth just not playing against it.
Yeah, if you see that as the Techies, you just don't suicide, and then you
Exactly.
wait, and then you suicide after. So you get a couple of seconds where you maybe be able to kill off the Techies, but probably that's not going to happen ever. So yeah, I think banning out is just the safest way to go. They're also going to protect their Lena a little bit, at least offensively so, by banning out the Dazzle that I mentioned before. So both sides grabbing their cold heroes, kind of defensive, or at least with the capacity of being fairly defensive. So, with the exception being Gyrocopter going towards the safe lane, Lena most likely going mid. Seems like both teams have pretty much the same game plan. It's of course going to put Zero Latitude at a slight advantage having the first pick afterwards. And if they don't ban it out themselves, something like a Clockwork perhaps, if they want to keep mobile with this Tusk, is something they might be considering.
Yeah, just depends on how they want to use the Tusk and how they want to move him around the map. Instead, it's going to be a Queen of Pain pick for Zero Latitude, one of the few mid laners that can hold their own against Lena. Has a large amount of burst damage herself, and as long as you're not super aggressive with the blink, and as long as you're careful not to be caught out from fog with a light strike, right, you should be pretty good, especially since the long range setup from something like a Shaker is not available for Mineski to pick up.
Yeah, for Mineski actually getting on top of this Queen of Pain looks like it's going to be pretty hard. Of course, as Lena, you want to be going for a Eul Scepter first, ideally, if you can do it. And with an IO also as the pick for Mineski, getting on this Queen of Pain is going to be now pretty much impossible unless they land a random LSA. Io Wyvern is super, super defensive, and it's not too late for Zero Latitude to, in fact, grab an Ancient Apparition. Maybe now it's a little bit too late, but Mineski are going to grab a little bit more traditional Io combination in that Bristleback. They have a lot of tankiness and a lot of healing with this draft, so if Zero Latitude aren't able to burst the Mineski heroes down, they may not get those kills at all.
Yeah, despite the Io Winter Wyvern duo not being the greatest aggressively by itself, it enables the Bristleback to go absolutely nuts inside these fights. You can Cold Embrace the Io, Bristleback's going to have an insane amount of healing, and just having that defensive fallback mechanism from both of his heroes allows Bristleback to dive pretty much wherever he wants as long as he doesn't fall behind when it comes to farm, and I don't think he should. At the moment, Zero Latitude's heroes aren't the greatest early on. Taking out the Ancient Stacks Gyrocopter is okay if he has some backup from him, but aggressively taking stacks is going to be pretty difficult. So I think Mineski are pretty secure with this Bristleback pick. That said, Zero Latitude's heroes are pretty good at kiting around the Bristle. Tusk with Ice Shards, with Snowballs, with Sigils, Queen of Pain with Thirst Slow, and just natural mobility, and similar kit for the Spirit Breaker, just being very hard to stick on to.
In this game, we may see the similar laning phase that we saw from the Dire last game. That was, of course, played by Mineski, but putting Spirit Breaker and Tusk on that bottom lane together is usually a pretty decent, aggressive way to go, and they did get a couple of kills, at least slow down the Leshrac as much as they can. Not much to fear from the Io, not much to fear from the Winter Wyvern, but you can't really go for kills like that on the Bristleback. It simply will not work, and the Embrace is going to be a lot more, interruptive than anything that the Zero Latitude side had last game. So, though the ability for Zero Latitude to play aggressively is certainly very much so here, it's going to be a lot more difficult up against the defensive heroes of Mineski, and that's including the Bristleback. He's very difficult to bring down. He's also going to do a hell of a lot of damage, so it's not too late now that I think about it for Zero Latitude to grab an Ancient Apparition and put a Gyro AA top lane. But yeah, I think that may be in consideration for them, but then of course you have an AA, and Bristleback, Lina, those two heroes eat Ancient Apparitions for breakfast.
And it's not out of the question we see Mineski throw the Io Bristleback in the pressure lane and throw them in the off lane against a Gyrocopter Ancient Apparition. I don't think the AA would be able to really contribute much, if anything. If Gyrocopter is isolated and doesn't have a Tusk behind him, could be very, very sketchy for Zero Latitude. I don't think Ancient Apparition is a super huge pick for them. I would have liked something more along the lines of the Witch Duck that Mineski just banned out.
Well, unfortunately for them, that's clearly not going to be happening. They do need a hero to kind of hold Gyrocopter's hand. As you said, it is very possible for Mineski to put a couple heroes in that top lane and try to slow down the Gyrocopter a little bit earlier on. And Bristleback Io is certainly a very dangerous duo. Maybe if Tusk is there, maybe if +1 support's there, then they just won't be able to do anything, in which case Mineski's backup lanes, they aren't really too impressive there, so Zero Latitude really just need a support here to hold down the fort. And as good as Ancient Apparition is up against an Io and a Wyvern, as far as fighting early on, he can do it sometimes with the Chilling Touch, but other times he's just completely useless. So yeah, I'm not really sure how much that's going to fit in here. For the Mineski side, they have so many options. Like, they could even put the Io with the Lina over in the mid lane and just have the Io stack a pseudo jungle Io, in which case they could grab a Clockwork for themselves. It's the Storm Spirit to be banned out instead, which I think is reasonable, but I don't know how likely that would have been for Mineski to go for that.
They'll pick up the line for themselves, although it is a hero that can do a lot if he gets the experience. Inside the laning stage is going to be a bit clunky, so Mineski are probably going to have to commit 3 heroes to that top lane, leaving bottom lane pretty much uncontested. Spirit Breaker is going to soak experience, but actually applying pressure is going to be very difficult for him, so although I think this is an okay pick for Zero Latitude, will give him a lot of burst damage to eat through that Cold Embrace with the Finger of Death and a good amount of lockdown. It's not without its weaknesses. I think this is more or less just a reasonably safe pick for Zero Latitude. For Mineski, they're going to get a Bloodseeker.
This is a little bit more of an indication that Mineski are going to be running either dual lanes or just a full-on offensive tri-lane. Bloodseeker versus Spirit Breaker, you would expect on the bottom lane. It's a pretty good lane for the Bloodseeker. It's good, honestly a good lane for both sides. Neither side should die until they get level 6s, or Spirit Breaker somehow gets a million 17% rolls, which is of course, sometimes going to happen, but oh, okay, we are going to remake, it seems. So we will be right back, guys, I guess, with the real draft, but yeah, I'm probably going to, what am I going to do with this? Alright guys, going to be loading back in just a short while. Didn't want to have too long break there. It's kind of awkward to draft, instantly cut to nothing. But we have a new player It's G, who I think is actually... never mind. I should have just looked this up while we were sitting in the waiting screen for just a little bit. But either way, it is going to be Mineski for a last pick Bloodseeker, making it Wyvern Io, Bristleback Lina, Bloodseeker. This is, as the chat was saying, a very pub-style draft. It's a very aggressive style, and they have the defensive power to actually kind of make it work. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game from Mineski for sure. Looking to be right back on the aggressive train.
Yeah, and in game number 1, that worked so well for them. In general, I think Zero Latitude's draft is a little bit safer, but we said that about game number 1 too. So, yeah, it's really up for grabs who's going to take this game, and we'll have to see if Zero Latitude are up to the task of taking this to 1-1. I have a feeling that Mineski are going to have a pretty similar showing to what we saw in the first game, and as soon as they start getting an advantage, as soon as they start getting momentum for this Bristleback Bloodseeker, it's going to be really hard for Zero Latitude to dislodge them.
Yeah, it's a slow and steady rolling type of game for Mineski, just always chasing. You can never really escape any of these heroes from Mineski, by the way. Maybe it's your Spirit Breaker, but it's always chasing, always looking for those fights. And Zero Latitude, they are kind of ready to fight as well, so I would expect this game to have a lot of brawling, just always getting to those fights. And in that regard, it seems like it actually should be a pretty even scenario. It is going to then, therefore, go down to the lanes. Like, it will depend how the lanes are going to be selected, how the lanes are actually going to be executed, to determine who's going to have that marginal advantage once the brawls actually do break out. But you can ask you the same thing. Team decide who has the better draft here.
I'd say Mineski. Their laning stage looks really solid. The Lina versus Queen of Pain should be mostly even, but I think the Bloodseeker's farm is going to be almost unimpeded, and Bristleback's going to be able to apply a lot of pressure to this gyro. I don't think Zero Latitude supports are up to the task of buying enough space for this gyro, and if Zero Latitude ever get behind, this game gets really difficult.
Now, I think I like Zero Latitude's draft just a touch. Their offensive power, like their offensive potential, is certainly there, and even though they have the clunky hero in the Lion, if they do get around that just by hexing the right target, spiking the right target at the right time, having the Spirit Breaker charge in, then the upside is certainly there from Zero Latitude to lock down these lanes at least as best they can, especially the dual lane. It's certainly a dangerous dual lane up towards the top lane for Mineski, but it's not something that's impossible for Zero Latitude to handle. But we'll see as they do load out into their lanes. On the Mineski side, they're going to put Royer on the Bristleback. He's going to be joined by Jay's Io once again. We got G playing the Lina, Jesse Vash on the Wyvern, and that leaves Jules in the bottom lane, solo safe lane Bloodseeker.
For the side of Zero Latitude, they'll have Vlesu playing on the Queen of Pain. Tusk is going to be handled by Avil going to the off lane. The supports, it's going to be Kylie on the Lion. Spirit Breaker handled by Ben Klung. And last but not least, Gyrocopter will be played by Hiva.
Blaiku may think about going for this, but he doesn't know that he's sitting right on Observer Ward. Jay is going to start poking at Ben Klung. Here comes the Quap. There is a dragon right overhead. You never really want to get into a fight with a dragon ever. It's a bad idea, trust me, guys. Royer is going to sit right into the Rocket Barrage. However, here comes the Arctic Burn onto Hiva. Royer already dropping pretty low. LSI going to completely whiff. They're dropping Hiva around the same clip as they're dropping Royer, but it looks like Hiva will be first blood, drawn by the Bristleback, who's still going to survive. Raging Potato Jay is going to get charged. He's going to jump a little bit up the high ground. That's going to save his ass. With another LSI landing on Ben Klung, a couple more right clicks. Looks like it's going to be a double here for Mineski. Who got the bounty rune? It's going to be both going towards the Dire, which will make it a little bit more even than you would really expect, but still first blood and an additional kill going the way of Mineski.
Yeah, I take that trade if you're Mineski pretty much every day of the week. A bounty rune for a kill seems pretty good for me. As far as how those bounties were distributed, Tusk and Lion were the beneficiaries, so if Queen of Pain picks that up, it's a lot better for Zero Latitude since the mid lane can somewhat equalize, but not only did Lina get a kill herself, she also got the assist as well, now sitting on the salve and already level 2, so Queen of Pain's at a slight disadvantage.
Bottom lane looks like Zero Latitude gonna make this into a full-on dual lane going up against Jules. Jules still will be in sometimes be able to handle this, but not when level 2 comes up and Spirit Breaker gets a little bit too difficult there once the threat of bashes is present. He's gonna trade hits with Ben Klung, however, and that's something that Bloodseeker can do with the poor man's shield. It is going to start really early on, this brawling, and I don't really know if the Wyvern's going to be able to help that much, but this is going to be a very interesting start. Already 2 kills ahead for Mineski, but neither of those bounty runes going towards them, though, making it so that this Lion is going to have that additional jump in experience. Already level 2.5. ahead of his gyrocopter for one thing, but once you get level 3 on Lion, then that is kind of the point where his weaknesses, or at least his prime weaknesses, are kind of mitigated. Bottom lane, they're going to get into another fight, this time with the Drake flying overhead with the burn. Benklung's going to charge not that far away, however, and now it's still slowed by the burn. Shard's not going to wall off in any helpful capacity. It's going to be another kill for the Mineski side.
Really awkward. I thought he'd charge towards the mid lane creeps and just get out of there straightforward, but that's going to be 3 kills for Mineski, and it makes it a lot harder for them to brawl down in bottom as Spirit Breaker is forced all the way back towards base and still doesn't have his level 2, although he will have it very shortly and only 5 experience. The Bloodseeker now has an advantage, and once Bloodseeker does, it's so hard to harass him out.
He'll have those extra points in thirst, and as you drop lower in the duration of that brawl, he's just going to get even stronger as time progresses. So, yeah, maybe now it's time for the Spirit Breaker to at least call it quits for a little while. You can grab an Invis rune, not really going to be able to do too much with that. At least he shouldn't be able to, but in the meantime, up towards the top lane, Io and Bristleback, 7-2 versus the 5-2 Gyrocopter. Not a ton of action going around here just yet, but we have a Poor Man's Shield already up on the Bristleback. Not a super frequent item pickup, but it is an item that you pick up if you're expecting to fight super early, as in right now early. So Bristleback's ready to go.
Yeah, else you'd rather wait for the Vanguard, but still Rior is in fighting shape. Benklung managed to find himself level 2 as he was walking through mid lane, so with that Invis rune, his waddled all the way up towards top. Looks like they want to get aggressive there, but with all this attention paid to the side lanes, Queen of Pain's left completely alone against the Lina, already dropped very low. They're going to get that Invis rune pop, looking for the charge, will go straight forward towards Io, but too deep. I don't think they'll be able to secure that kill or spike over into Rior. Gonna drop the Bristleback fairly low, but he has an Io tethered to him, and they're gonna turn onto Kylie, so much damage, and with Bristleback just punching on that poor line, they'll be able to get that kill. Now chasing forward for Benklung. Another charge away, this one will be unsuccessful as Io kills him with another auto attack, 5-0. Mineski, a roaring start for them, and in their CS too, it reflects such an advantage early on.
Man, 5-0, now that's a start for Mineski, and that's going to get around the fact that Wyvern and Io, early on, not really super useful. If they get their levels, if they get accelerated, their quote-unquote early on isn't really going to be lasting for too long in the grand scheme of this game. So, yeah, that is, of course, a little bit of questionable targeting there from Zero Latitude. 2 heroes decided to go for the Io. You really need the Gyrocopter with ideally level 2 Rocket Barrage to go for that target as well. Otherwise, yeah, it's still only level 2 Spirit Breaker. He can stun, but aside from that, doesn't really do a ton. So for Mineski, they kind of got a lucky break there simply because Zero Latitude were in an awkward position. I think if they all went for that Bristleback, they probably could have gotten that kill, or at least drawn Io into a position where they could easily switch targets and then kill off the Io straight after. But splitting their focus, not what you want to be doing up against this lane.
Right now with 3 heroes at about half HP, the Bloodseeker's already moving in faster than haste speed. Going here is very difficult up towards top. He will take a lot of cool damage, but he shouldn't die yet. Looks like the rotation's going to happen on mid. They're charging forward. They have a line coming up for the wraparound. They're going to look for this kill on G with the Scream, as well as the Shadow Strike connecting. There's really no hope for this Lina. She has no backup soon, but up towards top, the dive in the Gyrocopter will succeed. Rior will not die to the tower as he has an Io bottling him up over in the sidelines. Across the map, that's a fairly even exchange.
Yeah, trading away your Lina for a Gyrocopter is about as even as it gets. And of course, Queen of Pain going to get her hands a little bit bloody, and they actually do have another charge onto the Wyvern right now. Only level 3, this Dragon. He's going to be just fine, however, just a charge and nothing else from Benklung. No blink in from the Queen of Pain, so no one's going to die here. But Zero Latitude at the very least get themselves on the board. But even though that is certainly very nice, the CSing status of this game is so much in favor of Mineski, it's not even funny. It's a little bit funny. Royer is actually going to run to a Rocket Barrage, tethered up by the Io, is actually going to get away. Are you kidding me? Io's now going to have to run through this Gyrocopter gauntlet, and it looks like he might actually get away too, because the creeps are perfectly blocking the Gyro. That just sucks if you're the Gyrocopter, man. So close to 2 kills, yet you get 0. And the CS is still going in favor of Mineski. That should have been at least a kill for the Gyrocopter.
Absolutely. Bristleback surviving on 9 HP or something. At least when I checked him, he was on 10. Rior is going to be really happy with how that goes, and it looks like he's still going to back off for the Vanguard. He has the Vitality boosters, so a bit of an awkward Poor Man's Shield purchase, but still, Mineski are doing wonderfully. If we take a look at the net worth chart, although not something we do very often this early on, it's vastly in their favor. Mid lane, they're going to get the charge forward, chasing forward for this Lina. Won't be able to get the Light Strike array off. It's interrupted by the Cold Embrace, but is this enough to save her life? I'm tempted to say no, but they'll get the return kill at the very least, and still running under the tower, 1 auto attack apiece. And the Lion and Queen of Pain will be able to get that kill on the enemy mid laner. They desperately needed some TP support from the Io, but I don't think there was one available.
Jesse Vash almost had enough attack speed there to get the deny on the Lina. Would have been in time, or at least he issued the attack command in time. You can see because he just like turned his hero. But the attack speed went to Wyvern is crap, so you're never really going to be able to get away with that. So Zero Latitude applying pressure to this Lina, a lot of pressure to this Lina. But we saw the mid lane of Mineski really get sat on really heavily in the last game, yet the success of their side lanes was enough to pull it through in the end. And this is looking like it's going to be the exact same thing. This Bristleback is getting fairly out of control, at least a lot more out of control than the Gyrocopter. Bloodseeker's having a great time on this bottom lane. Looks like he's going to go for a really fast Hand of Midas. So even though G may not be having the best of time in this mid lane, he's still out CSing this Queen of Pain. He needs to die like 2 or 3 more times if you really want to make this Lina a little bit more of a non-factor. But even then, she's still sitting on an absolute cannon with that Laguna Blade, which chunked down the Spirit Breaker, who's still on level 3, by the way, pretty efficiently.
Yeah, on the flip side of the coin, there's a lot of pressure on this Queen of Pain to perform because she's really the only hero that's doing well relative to her opponent on the enemy side of the map. Slightly better time than the Lina, but as you said, I think Lina's burst damage is still just more reliable than what the Queen of Pain's bringing to the table. She kind of needs to get action off of the Sonic Wave, and fast. They're going to look for a charge onto Jules. He has the Midas flying out to him. They're going to snowball forward. The Midas is not yet delivered, and it doesn't look like we'll be able to get that charge off. Ice Shards won't wall him off. He's under his tower. The TP support is there, and Jules will be just fine. Turning with the Rupture onto a VL, blinking for the Queen of Pain, has the Sonic Wave. We'll jam that one home. And Winter Wyvern's now left alone with Nurse. By connecting, Jesse Vash will take some damage, but now Lina's going to join the fray, looking for the wraparound. Everybody's really low on the side of Zero Latitude, but actually securing these kills is almost impossible. So it looks like it's just going to be the Bloodseeker down.
And Zero Latitude invested a lot of heroes into that. If you're Mineski, you teleport only the Wyvern in because you don't expect the Queen of Pain to be there as well. With the heroes that were there for Zero Latitude, they probably could have even turned things around and gotten a kill on that Tusk because he was ruptured and Lina was coming in, but the Queen of Pain definitely making the difference there, and that's what she needs to do in this game. She is, as you said, doing the best on her team compared to her lane opposition, so she has to be making those rotation plays. She has to translate her lead into lead for her side lanes. Kind of similar how Mineski are translating their side lane lead into a lead for their mid lane. However, Ben Klung, he's going to chase down Jules, moving at somehow like 1,000,000 movement speed up towards top lane. They're going to dive again towards Hiva. They'll beat down the Gyrocopter. The charge is not coming up here, though. So it looks like they'll be able to get away scot-free. Gyrocopter dying for the 3rd time. Even with Call Down and Rocket Barrage, not doing enough damage to the combination of this Io and Bristle. Especially with the Urn now up on the Io. He could put so much health into this Bristleback.
Gyro needs help. I don't think there's another way to say it, and I don't see how he's going to come back into this game, especially since the stacking situation for Zero Latitude is nil. I don't think they have a single stack on this map at all. If they don't have support sitting behind him pretty much at all times, the Bristleback and Io are just going to dive him again and again and again. They're going to TP the Bristleback to the tier 2, and it looks like on the other side, Bristle's going to take a stack for himself. This is so much gold that isn't going to be reflected by Zero Latitude. It's a very fast Ancient stack for them to take, and with Cold Embrace in the Io, very easy to sustain. Snowball mid, they'll go for the Lina, just a couple feet away from where he's farming. Finger of Death to secure that kill, and now the Bristleback's right into action. They'll drop a slow into the Queen of Pain. They should know that he's farming Ancients right now. They'll drop a ward. These Ancients are low. It looks like they want to contest, looking for the Earth Spike. Will snag onto the Bristleback. Io's there to sustain him, chasing forward, looking for the turnaround, blink away by the Queen of Pain. An awkward dance from both of these teams, but it looks like it favors Mineski with the Ancients, and Zero Latitude still get their Lina kill, but it might not be over yet.
Royer's still not super healthy, and the Io now has no more regeneration to funnel into this Bristleback. Shard's going to connect, but instantly the relocate out. Io just barely getting that one. Zero Latitude get a dragon, which is pretty good, but they gave away the sigil, which is about as much gold, and now they're going to actually camp this relocation back. They're going to not actually get hit with the first missile. 2-man spike, however, with a 2-man sonic wave is going to annihilate the Io. Royer dropping pretty low as well. Charge coming through towards him, but Jules has arrived. He's going to rupture up Hiva. He's going to fight to the death with that rupture on him. Royer still surviving for a little while longer, will eventually go down, but it's a 4 for 2 so far with another LS down to Ben Klung. They'll blast him with the Laguna Blade. Completely unnecessary, but a 5 for 2 trade as Zero Latitude dump everything they have into the Io Bristleback, yet are only able to kill off the Io, and they have pretty much no more gas in the tank to deal with anyone else on Mineski.
The gold swing is going to be vastly in the favor of Mineski, and even looking at Bristleback's gold, he didn't lose that much. He bought out his wand before he died and didn't have much left afterwards. Has his Vanguard, so right now the awkward Poor Man's Shield Vanguard build is up, but still Mineski are getting so much on this map where Zero Latitude commit everything to try and stop that Ancient stack, and it's unsuccessful. It's really bad not only that they lose that fight there, but that they're not getting anything on the other sides of the map while that's happening. Since they commit 5, nobody's farming in their side lanes either.
That's a costly fight for Zero Latitude right now, and Royer's becoming, well, can we already call him unkillable? Like, they definitely can kill him. They have killed him in the past, but now with the Vanguard up, it's going to get so much more difficult. And now the IO also has a full bottle, and he's looking for a couple more orange charges. So he only has the bottle right now, but that should be enough to keep Royer still kicking on the front lines. And the Bloodseeker, he has his Hand of Midas, he has the Ogre Club already up. Should be an S and Y, I would expect, for Jules. You would maybe like to go for eventually a BKB, but you don't really need it right now. He's going to grab an Invis, and that is not what Zero Latitude want to be seeing right now. I think they did see it with their Observer Ward that was perched over the bottom side of the map, or the bottom river, but Jules not actually going to go in here. Mineski, they're pushing pretty aggressively. I'm surprised not to see Jules at least look for a Rupture target. He's going to run into the Queen of Pain, but grab the Haste Rune and run out, as if Bloodseeker needed more movement speed.
It'll just go down towards bottom side. Invis isn't going to directly translate into kills for Jules, but it does deny the runes away from the Queen of Pain, and Zero Latitude, the aggressive plan from the Tusk and the Spirit Breaker just hasn't worked out. They prioritize Tusk's levels, but the Spirit Breaker just hasn't been able to do anything. They're going to charge forward mid, trying to get this kill on Lina, but there's more than enough defensive support behind him to make this difficult. Now Bristleback is going to start opening up onto a Vil. The Spirit Breaker will continue on his charge. He's going to go straight forward onto the Lina. Nether Strike follow up with the Finger of Death. They'll be able to get the Lina kill at the very least. Snowball forward on the IO. Horse Punch up into the air. They'll look for the IO kill and will succeed with the call down missile. Buyback from the Lina. Roar's going to eat the Sonic Wave Scream, and it looks like they'll get the Bristleback too. Laguna Blade will be thrown into the Queen of Pain. Bloodseeker will smack her down, but still a good trade for Zero Latitude if they only lose this Lion more, as that did cost Mineski a buyback.
There's a costly fight there for Mineski, yet it's still a 3-for-3 trade with buyback, making it a little bit less appealing for the Mineski side, but Jules coming in there, cleaning up. Bristleback pretty much doing his job and just tanking everything, but Zero Latitude, they did handle that fight pretty much perfectly. They had the Spirit Breaker charge towards the Lina, bring her down with the help of the line in an instant, and, in theory, take her out of the fight. Of course, it didn't work this time because of buyback, but who knows, maybe next time she won't have that at the ready. They also, at the same time, go for the IO. You gotta go for these softer heroes as Mineski. If you're Zero Latitude, if you try to focus on the Bristleback, it's clearly not gonna work. If you try to focus on the Bloodseeker, he's probably gonna end up getting at like 800 movement speed, and then he'll just run right out of there. It's also still not going to work. So you gotta get on top of the IO. You gotta get on top of the Lina, and if Zero Latitude can keep doing that, that's their ticket back into this game. What went wrong there, though, is, of course, the buyback from the Lina, and the fact that Jules was able to come in at like 1,000,000 movement speed and start the fight for himself at full HP. So the Bloodseeker, was able to clean up there, and that made it not that great for the Zero Latitude side, because he has Sanj, he almost has Yasha.
Yeah. The big tools that they have to deal with this Bloodseeker were used on the Lina, both the Sonic Wave as well as the Finger of Death. It does secure that kill, and pretty cleanly too, but they don't have those up constantly. Still a minute cooldown on Finger and 40 seconds on Sonic Wave. Up top lane, the Bristleback will continue farming. Looks like an S&Y build for the Bristle too.
I don't mind this too much. I mean, this is definitely the game plan for Mineski to always have these super chaotic fights. So in that regard, you want to get the early game items. You don't want to get something too expensive. You also want to get the cost-effective items, and that's pretty much for Sanj Yasha. That's even where Armlet comes into play. Armlet may be going a little bit too deep on a Bristleback, although it is something that you definitely can do. It makes it so that your hero is a little bit more one-dimensional, but it's not necessarily a bad thing all the time. They're just going to go straight for the tier 1 top lane. It looks like Kylie's going to get the hell out of there, teleport down towards bottom. It looks like Zero Latitude looking to make a trade. I don't know if they actually have enough damage to do this, though. Like, Mineski can plow down this tower up towards top and then start pressuring the tier 2, or teleport back for their tier 1. Looks like they'll decide on the latter.
Yeah, defending this tower is pretty easy. The tower damage coming in from Zero Latitude is not very significant at all. Now Splinter Blasts are going to start flying, and there's a relocate into the back lines. They'll get an Earth Spike, nicely timed from the Lion. Following up with Finger of Death, they'll kill off the IO instantly. But still the Bristleback standing. Rocket Barrage and Call Down are going to connect. Well, they'll get a Walrus Punch over the sidelines, Sonic Wave through the Winter Wyvern and through G. But it's just not quite enough damage. The Bristleback still stands strong with stick charges, now looking into the trees for Ben Klong, trying to juke, but not going to be successful. Or is he? He'll charge forward. He's going to go for Jules. Laguna Blade will shoot him in the back, and he'll fall down very quickly. Another short charge the Spirit Breaker might have been able to survive if he went a little bit further, but still an advantageous trade for Mineski. They start that off losing their IO, but after they kill off that IO, there's just nothing left in the tank.
Yeah, for Zero Latitude, that's about all they have. They have the one shot, they have the one off, and the Sonic Wave and the Finger of Death. And whoever is actually going to receive those skills, yeah, they're going to be really, really dead, especially if it is an IO. But afterwards, like, they have Call Down, they have Rocket Barrage, and that's about all they have. The Gyrocopter was isolated away from that fight and was forced to fistfight Jules. And as powerful as Gyrocopter is fighting the Bloodseeker 1 versus 1, when the Bloodseeker has a whole bunch of Thirst stacks, or Thirst, built up, not exactly where you want to be. So 19 to 10, Mineski take that fight pretty cleanly, and then they take the tier 1, and they can still rotate around and look for that much more. With the Sanj now completed on the Bristleback, SNY up on Jules. This is Zero Latitude falling behind. They need to get this gyrocopter a lot more farm, but as you mentioned before, like, there's not much going the way of stacks. In fact, his Ancient camp is blocked right now. He needs to clear out like a quad stack of Ancients right now if he wants to get back into this in a relevant way.
Yeah, this is really hard. And even if they did have those stacks available, Mineski have wards that would cover him farming inside his own woods or maybe even rotating towards that Ancient. So it's not particularly safe when you have the threat of a relocate gank in. It's going to be very difficult for him. I think at this point, Gyrocopter is effectively a support gyro, despite not laning that way.
It is worth noting that as far as handling that relocate, Zero Latitude did it properly, or at least the Lion played it absolutely perfectly. Just wait for the timing, throw the spike, catch 2. Maybe dumping all your damage into the IO is a little bit too much overkill. I'm pretty sure there was a lot of wasted damage there when they used the finger on the IO, but they do have kind of the tools to deal with this IO relocate. Not the best, but something. So they may be able to handle the IO pretty quickly, but then they need some sustained damage, some bursts left, and that really is delicate focus fire from Zero Latitude. Their primary focus is kill the weak heroes, but if you invest too much in killing them, then you're completely screwed even if you do succeed.
Good news for Zero Latitude. You have a Blink Dagger up on that line. 3, 3, and 6. He's had a reasonable time, and considering the draft, I think that Lion's doing very well for himself. It's going to make it a lot easier for them to react to these relocate ganks in and be able to take more finesse fights just with the positioning that offers. And the Queen of Pain is going to be well on her way towards having the Aghanim Scepter. She has the Staff of Wizardry on the Courier, Ogre Club in the stash, so only 400 gold till she has that done, excuse me.
Jules is going to start on Roshan, will instantly be spotted by the Tusk, so probably that's not going to work out. Seems like Mineski might be waiting for this SNY and the Bristleback, and around that time they'll also have a Shadow Blade on Jules before they really step up the pressure again. I don't think they'll be able to actually take a Roshan engagement, at least not one that's clean enough that they'll be really comfortable with. They probably, they definitely can kill Roshan, but it's a little bit too risky for them, so wait till you have the Shadow Blade. Wait till you're able to get a pick off, then continue this aggression. Mineski, they do need their items, of course, and they will have at least that by the time they get to the tier 2 towers. Lina actually has gone for Drum's Blink Dagger. Haven't really been paying attention to her skill build since she's always been focused down and killed instantly, but this is not your standard Lina.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I like it that much. I think the drums, as far as an item on Lina, are pretty underwhelming. It'd be much better to just get the Yule's Scepter. It would probably be even better at keeping her alive from these Spirit Breaker charges and even Tusk initiations. But still, to each their own. Lina is suffering a little bit, but it makes up for they make up for that in the fact that Bristleback and Bloodseeker are getting a truck ton. Shadowblade's done on the Bloodseeker, and Bristleback has, I believe, his Yasha flying out to him on the Courier.
Jules is going to TP back home, however. And that's going to make the Zero Latitude heroes in the bottom lane kind of awkwardly sit there for a little while longer. Top lane, slowly but surely, is going to take a beating. Aghanim up in the Queen of Pain, which is nice. It's not necessarily enough to get Zero Latitude out from this 10k golden experience advantage that they're sitting on right now. They need something a little more substantial than consistency in their fights. They need explosive damage. They need aggressive focus fire. And they need to handle this top lane situation. With only this Queen of Pain being here, Royer is going to feel more than comfortable just charging at her, knowing that the IO again is right behind for healing and or relocate.
Yeah, they'll pop overcharge. This tier 2 tower is being wailed upon by the Bristleback. They'll lose tier 1 tower bottom, sure. But it's a trade that Mineski are more than happy to take. It's far from an even one. Right now, the map control for Zero Latitude is almost moot. If we take a look at their ward vision, it's okay for top, but without the tower there is no backup if Mineski go for a smoke gank, and with how many aggressive wards they've placed themselves, going for those smoke ganks as gyrocopter farms is going to be very easy for them.
The map control is going to get even worse for Zero Latitude. Winter Wyvern has a gem flying out to her, and it's about the same time as you have the Shadow Blade, so Zero Latitude will not be seeing this Bloodseeker coming. And if you don't see him coming, you're probably just not going to survive him. So it's Zero Latitude slowly but surely going to lose map control in their towers, in their map vision as well. It's already going to start translating into effects for Mineski as they go straight for the Roshan. They have the goo. They don't have a medallion, I don't think. Would like to see that on one of their heroes, but they know that they're spotted a little bit. They are still going to go for it, though. Again, this is the most risky play that Mineski can make right now, aside from just straight going up high ground or something like that, but it looks like it'll be unpunished. Aegis claimed by Royer. We have a charge going for the Lina, but instant smoke to get out of there a little bit faster. Was spotted, of course, but we'll keep them safe.
Yeah, and right now Zero Latitude are pretty difficult situation. Lion's positioning, while they're going for that Roshan, was really awkward. He was standing by the medium camp. It felt like they knew Roshan was happening, but they just weren't in position to take it. No, they find the gyrocopter. Rupture over on the Hiva. There's not really a backup plan here. The cooldown will be on the ground. It does a lot of damage to the Io. Spiritbreaker charge in. Maybe they can kill off this Io up to the high ground. Not going to be bumped all the way there with Nether Strike. They might get that kill, but at the cost of another life, as Laguna Blade will slay the Lion. Now slows on to Penklung, looking for the charge out. Is this even possible? Light Strike Array will connect, and damage is ridiculous.
Sonic Wave was used earlier. I heard it, didn't see it. It obviously wasn't going to help that gyrocopter since it was nowhere near him. He is working on his SNY, but it is so delayed. Like, Bristleback and the Bloodseeker both have theirs, and they're working on additional items on top of that. And Zero Latitude just getting caught out of position. Jules Shadowblade. Usually, as soon as you get it, you want to make some sort of gank. He sat on it for a little while longer, but hey, now with the Aegis and the amount of farm that they have, they're just going to go straight for the tier 2 mid lane, maybe slide bottom, or even poke up the high ground. They do have their Winter's Curse still available. They have their relocate. Io has a full bottle now, so going up high ground is very possible here for Mineski. This is going to be the toughest part of their game outside for going for the Roshan, of course, since you're walking into Call Down, you're walking into Spikes, you're walking into an Aghanim Scepter Sonic Wave, but I think if they can brute force their way up here, just have Royer on the front lines, have him poke at the tower, slowly but surely the tower will fall, and Zero Latitude are first to make a play.
Yeah. The big issue for Zero Latitude right now is, even though they're not super far behind, they are very behind, but not unsurmountably so. It's not translating into items that really help them fight. Blink Daggers, one apiece on the Tusk and Line, and the Aghanim Scepter on Queen of Pain is all they've had completed. And without anything major, they can't really go for fights convincingly, but they'll try to. Nether Strike will blow up the Lina, and they'll be able to get that kill. Walrus Punch in the Io, they'll get a secondary kill too. Evo is fighting with the Bloodseeker, not a fight that he can win convincingly. With the Gyrocopter down, it gets so much easier. Bill won't be able to TP out from the Bloodseeker's damage, and they'll just smack him down. Double kill for Jules, buyback on the Tusk, buyback on the Io. Joining this fray, Jules is moving at a ridiculous speed. Currently more than 600. Buyback from the Tusk. They want to stop this, and Spiritbreaker also joining the fray. Charge 4 going to stun both Warrior as well as Jules. Finger of Death into Jules. Can they kill the Bloodseeker? Not before he gets to kill himself, but with him one more bash, they'll get him. Aegis 2 Immortal's going to be procced by the Bristleback. It's currently a 3 versus 3 engage. They'll start with a Hex onto Warrior. The Io's coming in from the sidelines. Can they save Warrior before he's losing all of his mana? Mana Drain's going to make this difficult, but now that the Io's here, he can end up trading and keep on going into the base. Looking for the melee barracks, is going to start wailing onto it. With just the 3 heroes up for Zero Latitude, I'm not sure they have what it takes to stop it, but they're going to try. Charging forward onto the back lines. The Io is low. Glimmercape's there, but won't save his life. The smoke is going to pop. They know that Spiritbreaker is coming. Call down onto the ground. Cold Embrace onto the Io. Not going to be enough. Warrior is trading with the Gyrocopter up towards the top of this fight. He'll get a couple of stacks of goo, but is the damage quite there? They need a little bit more cool damage onto Hiva. They won't be able to find it. He's getting chain bashed. Another one, and that's going to be a double kill for the Queen of Pain. I have no idea what the end kill tally is for all of that, but the melee barracks still stand.
It's a lot of kills versus a lot of kills. I'm pretty sure Zero Latitude gets slightly the upper hand in that engagement, although it was, you know, the second and third initiation where they really started to get going there. A little bit of miscue there from the Winter Wyvern, ended up embracing the wrong hero, embraced the target with the Aegis. You want to embrace the Bloodseeker and let the Aegis, you consume the Aegis, obviously, so let that happen, and then they probably could have gotten away with a slightly better fight, but still tier 3 tower is down, and Zero Latitude did actually buy back with any heroes there. It was Tusk, it was Spiritbreaker to buy back, and now speaking of, Tusk gonna get hit with a Rupture LSA, and he's gonna get blown up by, again, an unnecessary Laguna Blade, but hey, Tusk down for 43 seconds, and Bristleback, you know, maybe not be able to come in time to actually start pressuring the base. Zero Latitude can't really afford to be losing any other heroes right now. With only one buyback being spent on the Mineski side, that was Jay on the Io. Mineski can just go for, what is this, like round 4 or something like that, and just try to break high ground again. This time with a fresh BKB on Jules. He collected so much cash after that last fight, and you know, BKB is not going to be the best item in this game. Still a lot of tools that Zero Latitude have to cut through it. Jules is man fighting up, and he will have, again, a lot of backup right behind him, assuming the Embrace lands correctly, and here we go. They're going to just go in again. 7 seconds where the Tusk is not up, and it's not really a huge opening, but it's enough an opening to get some of these structures down.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Yep. Definitely so. Well, charge forward. Winter's Curse will cancel it. They have the damage from the Dragon Slave, but not enough focus fire. G's dropping low. Cold Embrace will buy him some time. Never strike onto the Winter Wyvern. Such a hard fight to follow. Bloodseeker is going to start getting a lot of damage. These heroes are dropping low. Gyrocopter's the next to fall. Jules with his BKB is almost unkillable. They've already used the Sonic Wave. Now Rupture onto the Queen of Pain. Blink will not take any Blink damage, but still caught inside a spot. Cannot get anything further. She's going to fall next. Mineski, the only one they lose is the Lina, and although I've heard that before this game, this time around, it's going to favor Mineski in a huge fashion as they'll take the barracks quickly to follow.
You gotta hand it to Zero Latitude, man. They are focusing their fire pretty much perfectly, like going for the Lina first. She's been the recipient of the charge pretty much every single time. They've been trying to go for Jay, but at this point when you are, I don't know, 15k behind in golden experience, maybe a little less so in experience, even if you do take down those targets, then Jules and Royer, you have to worry about them. And yeah, they're substantially weaker without an Io, without Lina support. They can still kick your ass pretty darn easily. They're gonna catch the courier. Unfortunately for them, Bristleback just got his item delivery before then. So yeah, that's not gonna do too much. Seems like this game might actually just be over. Zero Latitude lost 2 Raxes. They've lost so many heroes. Clean relocate out is gonna give the Bristleback a topped off health and mana pool. And of course the Io the same thing. And with still all 5 heroes of Mineski kicking at full HP, they could just slide down to the bottom lane and push that one in for the win, I think. I don't know if Zero Latitude can hold anymore. They're going to charge forward, looking for G right now. Focus the Lina. Again, it's what you got to do, but is there enough damage? Finger of Death still not going to get killed. They have to invest Sonic Wave. That's 2 of their biggest nukes down the tubes. They get her, but now they know that it's all over. They just wanted that one more last kill before they called it.
And fair enough, Zero Latitude, unfortunately for them, are going to end this series 0-2. Mineski, a pretty clean performance across the board. Although this game was maybe a little bit shakier than game number 1, a couple of lost fights, and it does go to show that Zero Latitude were pretty good with their focus fire. They just didn't have the sustained damage, and a lot of that comes down to the Gyrocopter just not getting any space, really. Up in top lane was consistently dived and ended the game 1-9-8.
If you have a Gyrocopter, grab SNY at about 17 minutes, something like that at the latest, with of course all of his other items. If he's not 1-9-8, if he has any sort of damage item, or hell, even a BKB, well, maybe not a BKB in this game, but any sort of damage item, it would have been Zero Latitude to still be playing this game. But Gyrocopter being on that top lane with absolutely no help, having to deal with the dives consistently coming in from Royer as well as Jay, not much you could do there as any hero, and Gyrocopter was set a little bit too far back because of it. Guys, is going to put Mineski at a 2-0 win in this 2-game series, so Zero Latitude don't get any points. I think Mineski get 3 or something like that. It might just be total wins, losses, unless they change it recently, but we are done here for right now. There's another game that we're going to be covering in, when is that? An hour and a half. That's going to be Lemon Dogs versus Eternal Envy's Disciples, or EE's Disciples. Stream might go down before then, but for now, if you enjoyed the games, guys, be sure to hit the follow button down below. Be sure to also follow us on Twitter at HeflaTV. For myself, it's at Mikelorus on Twitter, and for my co-caster, it's at GrandisV. And we hope you enjoyed the broadcast, guys. We'll be back in an hour and a half for the next set, but we're done for now. GG.